to Coffee with a Missionary. Not entirely sure how long we've been live for. I do apologize.
Coffee with a Missionary is now Coffee with you, who are the missionary. Hello, welcome.
It's our date night. Sorry.
No. Hey, everybody. So great to be with you on another episode of Coffee with a Missionary, another show. We are going to have an exciting time talking with a missionary in a country that we have not focused yet on during Coffee with a Missionary.
Yeah, we're going to the wonderful country of Paraguay tonight.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get to our special guest, we do want to encourage you that we're going to be at General Council. LAC is going to be at General Council. There's a booth in the exhibit hall, and we're going to be doing a live Coffee with a Missionary from General Council. What? Probably won't see these faces, but you will see LAC missionaries there responding to questions that you have live there from General Council. So that's going to be really cool. Tune in on Facebook. We'll be posting more details about the when and the where exactly. But LAC at General Council, a live Coffee with a Missionary. It's going to be fun.
What are the dates?
The dates for General Council are July 31st, which is Wednesday, through Sunday, August 4th.
So that's 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll give you more information about exactly when that's going to be. But we're excited. So anyway, without any further ado,
we want to introduce to you our missionary, Tiffany Armstrong.
So welcome, Tiffany.
Let's do some jazz.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is so awesome. And so Tiffany, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself and where you're serving?
Hi, yes, I'm Tiffany Armstrong, and I'm from Oregon originally, and I'm 21 years old, and I'm serving in Paraguay, Asunción, Paraguay. I'm near the capital of Paraguay, and I have three siblings, a brother and 2 sisters, and then I have 5 nieces and nephews. So It's a fun house, a fun family, and so yeah, I'm working with Child Hope with David and Rose DeTrolio.
That is so awesome. And David and Rose, we want to say hi to you guys. They're joining us live, so we welcome your feedback on this.
Yeah, they already threw a comment. They said hello to you.
Yeah, and David and Rose, if you would like to come on video and just say hi, we can send you a link as well. So just send a message to LAC World Missions. We'd love to interact with you.
That's Sarah, Donna Maria. Is she and Damon? I'm not going to do last names. No
Yeah.
one. Are these all friends of yours, I'm assuming?
Yes, they're all good friends.
That's incredible. So we're really excited tonight to talk with you, Tiffany, about a really cool topic that really was on your heart to talk about, and that is unmet expectations.
What does that have to do with missions?
But before we get into that, why don't you just share a quick testimony that you had shared with me about how Coffee with a Missionary blessed you when you were in the application stages.
Yeah, so when I was signing up to be a missionary in MA, I wasn't really sure what that would look like, and I had no idea, and I was just looking on the LAC page, and I found a Coffee with a Missionary video, and I watched it. It was an older one, and I just remember getting so much peace in my heart and just feeling like the Lord saying to me, like, this is you got, like, I have this, like, this is where I want you. And that video just really helped solidify that peace in my heart. So it's such an honor to be able to be on Coffee with a Missionary. And I hope that one day, if you're a new missionary and you don't know what the next step looks like, that maybe this can help you have some more peace in your heart. So
that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like full circle. So you could be watching this, and maybe in a year you will be our next guest.
That really is crazy.
That is so cool. Thanks for sharing that, Tiffany. So we talked a little bit about. We introduced this topic, unmet expectations, and so why don't you just start off sharing a few of the expectations that you had about what it meant to go on the mission field.
Yeah, so I went to Haiti when I was 14 years old for a 10-day mission trip, and I just fell in love with the Lord even more, and I fell in love with missions, and I just knew, I felt like God called me to be a missionary in Haiti, and so I knew that this is where God wanted me to be and what God wanted me to do. But because, I mean, for those of you that have been on a short-term missions trip, it's amazing. It's a wonderful experience. And you're just on this huge mountaintop and you're on this, like, you know, just God is just right there. And you just really feel God's presence and his power, and you see new things. And so I was able to, I experienced that. And so I think part of that just built into the expectation of that's what missions is going to be like. And I remember even before I left the mission field a year ago, it sounds silly now, like saying it, but the truth is I got like this like cute little printer because I was like, I'm going to want to print pictures every day because there's going to be amazing stories that happen every day. And I need a journal about it. And it's just going to be amazing. But for those of you that are missionaries and, you know, maybe people that are more realistic than I am, know that that's not the case, and that wasn't the reality of missions, you know. So those were preconceived ideas. So.
Yeah. But do you feel disappointed that that isn't true?
You know, I mean, yes, because everyone wants to always live on a mountaintop, but then also no, because I feel like in the mundane life and in the valley is really where God just shows you his faithfulness, because it's easy to be reminded of God's faithfulness when everything's going good. But when you see God being faithful to you, even in like that mundane lifestyle, like that is so amazing. And I really believe that's where so much of your faith gets built up, you know?
Oh yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful stuff.
And to learn, like it's a lesson that you probably never stop learning, no matter missionary or whatever phase of life that you're in. But to have started learning it at so early in the missionary journey is really cool to me. That's like a grace that I feel like God has probably given you, you know, that you've handled it fairly well, you know, and that you'll keep exploring that. But that's, you know, it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, if you're just tuning in to Coffee with a Missionary, we want to welcome you. We're talking with Tiffany Armstrong. She's a missionary associate in Paraguay, in Paraguay, and we're really excited because on Coffee with a Missionary, this is our first interview with someone in Paraguay. And as you mentioned, Tiffany, how many AG missionaries right now are in Paraguay?
Right now we have David and Rosemary Detrolio, and then we also have Diane Peters and Megan and myself, and that's all. But we do have some more missionaries coming, and that's so good. We have 3 new teams that will be coming.
Awesome.
3 new like families.
Units, yeah, or whatever the official terminology is. Well, Dave and Rose give a shout out. They say we're thrilled to have Tiffany with us. She's a tremendous blessing to the country of Paraguay.
And Gladys Rodriguez also said hello from Miami. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for Tiffany or anything you want to know, we're talking about unmet expectations. And so if you have any comments or advice, feel free to write that in, comment that in. We'll be sure to take note of that. But Tiffany, I kind of had a question. You know, how much you talked about unmet expectations, and how aware were you that expectations were being formed in you about the mission field? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I thought maybe like, oh, I'm sure there will be hard times and there's going to be things that it won't be perfect all the time. And I knew that. I was aware of that, but then there was still part of me that just, I don't know, that just thought like, well, no, it's just going to be amazing, and I'm always going to be close to the Lord, and I'm always just going to be on this mountain high. Even though I knew that wasn't going to be the case, I still, at the back of my mind, it was just there. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
No, absolutely. And that yeah, because I think that's probably pretty typical. But you talked about, you know, that feeling of mountaintop high. Were there other expectations that you identified as that you had prior to the mission field?
Yeah, I would say I thought I would learn Spanish a lot faster than I have. And for those of my poor friends that listen to me speak Spanish on the daily, know that is not the case.
Oh, has it been hard for you, or just harder than you thought?
both. It's been good. When I left the field for Costa Rica, I was in Costa Rica for 4 months. I thought, because I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, and so I thought, oh, I know Spanish. I can speak the language. It's gonna be good. And then I got to Costa Rica, and I realized, oh no, I don't know Spanish. And then I got to Paraguay, and I realized, oh, I still don't know Spanish.
Oh my goodness.
So
did Costa Rica help, do you think, or was it just?
Okay. No, it really helped, and it really created a really good foundation to where I could help, like, understand it. I knew the basics before I left.
Sure.
So Costa Rica really helped build on that, and then being here. So I've been here for about 6 months now, okay. And I'm to the point where I can understand what people are saying to me, but it's just speaking back that it's not beautiful. So
yeah. Was there an expectation that you had that was maybe bad? You know, like you expected something to be harder than it was, and it's been like a pleasantly unmet expectation.
Yeah, I would say I thought living in where I'm living right now, like in my apartment or just living alone or in Paraguay, I thought that the area I would be living, I thought, okay, there's going to be bugs and tarantulas and I'm going to be sleeping on a rock hard bed or something like that. And no, that's not the case. I live in a very nice house. I live with a Paraguayan and she's very sweet. And I live in a very comfortable home. So I did find a spider the other day, but only one, and that's less than I was expecting. So that was a good expectation.
Less than I am in New Jersey. So, I mean, I'll swap. Spiders out the wazoo lately. But I think that's really cool because I think a lot of people's hesitation sometimes to go in the mission field is their expectations are scary ones, you know, and it's positive to hear that, like, not all of them are true. You know, like you have your moments and not, you know, you're in you know, not every place is the same, but
right.
I think it's important to also talk about the expectations that, you know, we make up in our heads, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think, did you have expectations prior to leaving for the field that that you already recognized as not true even before you left? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, yes, I think, yeah. So just the expectation of like mission in the itineration process, I really learned a lot of like missionaries still live a life and missionaries still are just humans. And so I remember like looking back thinking like, oh, like all of these missionaries, they only do missions and nothing else. But as I started in that itineration process and just really started just being more exposed to missions, I realized, okay, like missionaries actually live more than a life than just missions. Like our life is missions, but we have a life outside of missions too. Does that make sense to you?
You're not just constantly talking to people about Jesus and doing ministry all day long. You're, you know, finding food to eat and you're getting the daily necessities
making
of life.
friends,
sure.
You know,
yeah, hanging out with friends, going to the movie or something, going to coffee.
Yeah. So this is a little off script, but we'll come back to that on my expectations. But talk a little bit about how you ended up in Paraguay and how God led you there.
Yeah. So I went, like I was saying earlier, I was in Haiti when I was 14 years old, and that's where God called me to be a missionary. And God said to me, I want you to be a missionary, but you need to be a missionary where you are right now, because obviously I was 14 years old. I couldn't go off to a foreign country by myself. And so I knew that I needed to be a campus missionary in my high school. And that's a really big thing throughout the U.S. I don't know if you guys have heard of campus missions. And so that I was just really involved in that. And just, you know, I knew that I needed to be a missionary where I was. And that missions was more than just going to a foreign country. So I guess another unmet expectation, like I started learning in high school, was that it was more than just going to a foreign country. It was being a missionary where you are. And so then when I was 19, I just felt like I was in the middle of school, and I just felt like God said to me, you know, let's take a break. Right now is the time that I want you to be, to go to the mission field. And I've always had a heart and a love for Latin America and the Spanish language. And so I knew that it was going to be somewhere in Latin America and something with children, because I wanted to be a teacher as well. And so I kind of was just looking through the pipeline as the program. For those of you that don't know, the pipeline is a program through AG that we have to connect missionaries to, or people in the States to missionaries. I don't know if I explained that right, but it's
Great. That's great.
And so I remember looking through a couple different options, and I just loved what the ministry that David and Rosemary had here in Paraguay with the Child Hope Schools. And so I loved the option, and so I remember just sending her an email, and they were willing to have me. So
now I love this because I feel like this is where so many people get stuck. They feel like they're called. They know that God's doing something. They go on the website, and then something just happens where you freeze. It's like by pressing that button to just reach out for more information, things are going to like skip 5 years, and all of a sudden, you know, like you've been in missions for I don't know. How was that for you? Because it seems like it was all very easy, and it could have been, you know, but was it pretty just matter of fact for you? Because that's what it seems like.
Well, for me, it was like I knew that this is what God wanted me to do. I did not have a doubt in my mind that this was where God wanted me to go. And I knew that God would open up the doors that he wanted me to go to. So I had actually emailed or talked to another missionary family in Honduras. And that before like they even were able to email me back, the people from Pipeline had said, oh, sorry, they're on itineration, so you can't be a missionary associate with them.
Okay.
And so I just felt like that was God's way of saying to me, like, no, like that's not where I want you to be.
Sure.
And then they said, but from what you're interested in, it sounds like Paraguay is something that you would like. And I had already been kind of going back and forth between the two. And so then like for me, like that was just like it, like I knew, okay, this is where God wants me. And so for me, it was easy. And I get that it's not necessarily easy for some people, but just because you press that send and like you're just getting more information, that doesn't mean that that you're there, you know, like there is still obviously so much more to the process.
And what would you say to someone that's a little nervous about what their parents would say dropping out of school halfway through?
I would say it's hard. You know, I'm sure my family can speak for you. I don't know if they're watching, but it's hard to let your daughter go off to the mission field. And you know, my parents were really supportive and really loving, and I get that that's special. Like that's not necessarily the case for some people. Are you guys frozen, or is that me? I'm gonna just keep talking. And so I know that that's not always the case for some people, but for me, I had family that was really supportive. So I don't know if it's me that's frozen or if it's you guys. So if you're watching me and I'm just being really awkward, hey, I'm Tiffany, and I don't know if I'm frozen or if the other people are frozen. So I see people watching. Let's see, what else can I talk about? I've also had as I was mentioning, okay, I'll tell you a funny cultural confusion story. Thanks, Sarah, for saving me. Sorry, I was kind of rambling there. So one time, I'm going to tell you guys, maybe not a cultural confusion story, but Spanish, how I got my Spanish mixed up. So I had originally arrived here in Paraguay, and it was like my first or second day, and I was just like, I don't know, my Spanish, it was just brand new, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I was talking to one of my first friends. She's so great. And she asked me if I was a missionary in Spanish. And I'm embarrassed to say that I said no, because I didn't understand her question. And I was like, no. And so then, like 3 months later, she's coming and, or she's at my house and we're hanging out. And she says to me, I'm starting to understand a little bit more of Spanish and everything. And she asked me, she's like, Tiffany, are you a missionary? And I said, yes. Like, why are you asking me that? Of course I'm a missionary. And she said, well, the first day that we talked, I asked you if you were a missionary, and you said no. And so I was like, oh my word. So that was really embarrassing. I have so many great embarrassing stories. I would say another, I think one of my favorite stories is just I just stick out like a sore thumb sometimes, and I know that I am crazy. And my friends though here are so supportive and so wonderful, and so I love that they are so inclusive of me, even though I am crazy. Hey, welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for having us on your show, Tiffany.
You're a missionary. Tell me about your calling.
I love you.
She's a natural.
We're done. You're okay.
What are we even doing here? This is amazing. Well, were you answering some comments?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was frozen at first, so I'm so sorry to everyone when we find out that I wasn't actually frozen and I was just rambling. I was like, I don't know if I'm frozen, but I'm still gonna try to keep.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It.
If there's more comments that we didn't get to, let's go ahead and take time for that. Or,
This is so sad. I really wanted to hear your answer on the last one. I won't make you repeat it for everyone else's sake.
no, well, this is wonderful. So,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your support system in the process of you felt this calling, you were sure of it, and then when you decided, okay, I'm going to take steps towards this. What sort of support system do you have around you? People encouraging you?
Yeah, so for the most part, everybody was just so encouraging. And everyone had known that I had a call of missions on my life ever since I was 14, really. And so people were just like, oh, yeah, this is so where you're supposed to be. Like, I see God's hand in this. And it was just so encouraging. And even my mother, Mom, I love you. I see she's watching right now. So even her, I know it was hard for her to let me go, but she that's April Armstrong. That's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
She was just so supportive. And so that meant so much to have pretty much everybody being so supportive of my calling, you know.
I know this. I don't know if this is weird or not. So, but April, because you're watching, if you have any advice for other mothers or parents of like kids that are kind of in this, because I know it's probably hardest for the parents to like encourage their kids. Like it could be dangerous. It could be making the wrong decision. You could not go back to school. Like all of these what ifs. So April, if you want to just take some time and maybe just jot down a few things that were able to help you in your process of sending off your girl, you know, I can only imagine how hard of a time it was. Like, but you know, whether it was books or someone encouraged you with, or I don't know, but whatever
conversation.
it is.
Was it a conversation? Someone who encouraged you? So what brought you to the point of release to say, you know what, I have to trust my daughter with the Lord.
Right.
And I have to trust her calling in your hands.
Yeah, because here's Tiffany saying that she was encouraging. So obviously you got there at some point. Hopefully.
Yeah, and so we welcome your feedback there. But let's go back to expectations a little bit more. Were there any other expectations that you had going into the mission field that we haven't talked about yet?
I think one of I remember joking a couple weeks ago. I was joking with one of my friends, and I was saying to her, I really want to make a meme on Facebook, or we just make a meme. I don't know how to make a meme, so I won't do it. But how like expectation versus reality. And my expectation was, hair in a messy bun, sweat in one of those like long skirts, and children just like running, and like I'm hugging all of the children. And then I was like, that day I was working on an Excel spreadsheet, and I was like, expectation versus reality. I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet, and I never thought like that's what I would be doing in missions. And I that's not to say I don't love it, like that I know it's important, I know it's necessary. But originally, like, I just thought I would be, always drenched in sweat with children, giving all the hugs to children and wearing that long missionary skirt. But that's not my life, that's not my reality.
Sure. That's like that point. I get that. I would never enter missions for the Excel spreadsheets. So I get that 100%. Whereas some people, that sounds very appealing. They're like, oh, there are days like that. Thank God. And I was like, okay. But it does bring a healthy perspective to it,
So yeah, that's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit. Sorry. Does that sound? I don't
I
know.
don't know why that was so funny. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Midwest guy over here.
Tiffany, your answers have been incredible. We are so thankful. And so now we're interested, what is the next step? When you encountered and when you got to the field and started to realize, wait a second, these things aren't what I thought they were going to be. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so when I first got to Costa Rica, special shout out to my Costa Rican language school friend. This mug is from Costa Rica. When I first got to Costa Rica, I was kind of starting to see those like realities of missions, but I was like, no, like it's just because I'm in language school and it's different. But when I'm on the like field, when I'm to where I'm supposed to be, then it's gonna be different. And so then as I got here and I got to Paraguay in January, just realizing, oh, like that isn't actually a reality, and that I had to really take it. And it sounds kind of like stereotypical and cheesy, but I really did have to take it to the Lord, and I had to say, God, like this is not what I expected. And I remember sitting in my room, probably like the first month or something, and I was just saying, like, God, like, is this really what you want me to do? Like, am I called to be a missionary? Is this it? Is this what you want from me? Like, am I doing anything? And like, it was just in that time, because my word for the year is trust. And I just really felt God saying to me, like, trust, like, it's not what I expected it to be, but that doesn't mean that that's not where God wants me, because God knew what it was going to be, and God knew everything about it. And so that really helped put that in perspective a little bit for me.
And it seems like that, I can't think of a more healthier place to be, because you could easily, like, you can take it to God and he can help you, but then you can say, yeah, but I'm done with this. Versus where you say, you know what, yeah, I love that last part where it's like, but God, you knew what this would be like, and you knew you placed me here, and so I'm going to continue to trust and let this thing unfold like you want it to. I love that so much.
Lakira, do you know Lakira?
Yeah, she was in language school with me.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, thank you for your comments. We both agree, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So thank you, April. So Mom Armstrong says, it was one of my biggest leaps of faith. Cried a lot, prayed a lot. I got to a place with the Lord that I had to give her completely to God. I had to let God have his girl, meaning that I remember that my baby girl was his baby girl.
I'm not
to cry girl again. But
parents over here with the little girl, this is fighting words.
But April, I think that it's just a crazy good point, because we all start out as these babies, and I feel like we kind of understand that. But yeah, the more choices that you're going to make independently, the more parents have to keep letting go. And April, I think that you're probably going to speak to a lot of parents as it's just as simple as that, that reminder that it's as simple as that, and it's as hard as that. That's not to minimize the hardness of it, but I really respect your ability to do that. April, to let her go.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. If you think of anything else, don't be afraid to comment in. And other moms that are maybe watching this, or parents in general that have had kids go through similar things, I think this is I can imagine that other, younger people that might be watching this, because, you're younger and, might be going through very similar things. So if anyone has any words of wisdom, speak up.
Yeah.
Because we don't.
And why don't you, for everyone, give a shout out to all of your Costa Rica peeps real quick.
Like their names?
No pressure.
Yeah.
Oh no! If I never
Oh no, you're forgetting that. Well, anyway,
terrifying.
Why don't you talk a little bit about Costa Rica and what that experience was like for you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a full class when I was in Costa Rica, and so there was like all of the apartments were full in the language school. So the whole house, the whole block, we had so much fun. We did a lot of puzzles. We hung out in Nevin's Nook. That's what we called it. There were hammocks. It was so much fun, and we all did homework together, and we were crazy. We went on so many fun adventures. and just kind of just laughed at each other and our stupid Spanish thing, like mistakes that we made, and just we just had so much fun. And I didn't go to college. I went to community college. And so I didn't get that like college experience. So for me, that was sort of my college experience, I guess, kind of. I know it's different, but that was kind of mine. And so I just made some great friends that I still talk to all the time now. And just, they encourage me in my walk with God. And yeah, C Block is the best. We were from C Block, so we just had so much fun, and we just encourage each other in the Lord, and just still are great friends today. And I believe that, we're going to be great friends through our lives. So.
And was that friendship, that camaraderie, something that you expected, or was that something you were surprised?
I knew that like I would make some good friends, but I didn't realize how good of friends I would make. And just like, I just love that, like, even with like the unmet expectations, like just being able to talk to them about it and say like, hey, like, this is what I'm going through. Are you going through the same thing? Am I alone? Am I a horrible Christian because like I have these thoughts and these things, and just realizing that like all of these people like are going through the same thing, and they have these same thoughts. They have these same hurts and same struggles and same happy things too, and I wasn't expecting to have that great of a support system. But they're just you guys are so special to me, all of my Costa Rica family. So
that's so cool. Now I have a rant. It's a question having to do with expectations, but that's all right. So your mom got to visit you.
My family came to visit me too. Yeah.
Nice. So you said you've been in Paraguay for 6 or 7 months now. Are you on a 2-year assignment?
So I was originally on a 1-year assignment. That's why I was only in Costa Rica for 4 months. Mm-hmm. But as I got here and just a lot of different things, I just felt God saying to extend, and so I extended another year. Okay. Here now I'm a 2-year MA. Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm.
So do you have, and I feel like as we're talking about expectations, it's kind of said with this, like we can't have expectations about things, but we do, and I feel like it's even biblical, like, in the New Testament at some point, don't ask me, I dropped out of Bible school for a reason because I terrible brain, but we come in with high expectations of what the Lord's going to do. And so how could you, I don't know, describe what you're expecting for the rest of your term in like a healthy way. Now, knowing what you feel like you're able to expect realistically.
As you have a computer.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about what we're working on right now to kind of build up how that expectation is going. We are currently starting a university ministry here in Paraguay, the Assemblies of God. And so that has been just so fun. Rosemary and I have just had so much fun working with that and starting it. And so it's very young, so to say. We have one Bible study right now, and we'll have another one here at the end of August. So that's really exciting. And so we're seeing so much growth already happening. We have a great leadership team set up. We have just some really awesome people that are wanting to be a part of the university ministry. And so I would say, like, I believe it's a healthy expectation. I don't know. We'll find out here. My expectation is to see that grow. And I believe that we are going to see it grow. And because we've already seen it grow so much in the last 3-4 months. And so I'm believing that we're going to see it continue to grow into something that I'm sure will be beyond what I could even, different than what I imagined, but beyond what I could ever ask for. So. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Let's take a look at some of the comments. So we've had, if we haven't gotten a chance, Cindy Lucas says, hello, Missionary Paraguay for 43 years. Wow. Home last July to care for 88-year-old mom. Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for commenting in, for tuning into this. And thank you for your service in Paraguay. That's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And God bless you and your care for your mom. Pray for her health as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cindy. And Cindy, any advice that you can give to a new missionary, Tiffany, comment that in. We'd love to hear that as well. and look at a couple more comments here.
And I have a question if people want to comment in. This is something that I've been privy to before this interview started from Tiffany. But there is something that you would expect to be in Paraguay, hashtag expectations, that it's not. It's in a lot of other Latin American countries. It's in America. It's in pretty much everywhere in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But it is not in Paraguay. And I just want to see if you guys can guess what it is.
Well, that's so broad. I feel like we have to say
no.
it's so broad.
Well, make them work for it.
Don't Google it. You can't Google it. That's
Right. Thank
No
you.
Googling.
Jesus will know. So we won't. But honor system.
I don't know if I know what it is. I think I have a thought, but I do.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It was so broad. It's so broad. What thing do they have? I mean, there's probably like
It's a franchise.
It's not everywhere else in the world. It's just not. There's other places that don't have it too, but it's
surprising.
It's in most places.
It's a franchise.
In my
Can we put it
humility,
like that?
if I would say it, I would say like this. She worked there in the U.S. and now there isn't one in Paraguay. I think that
In your humility, you spoke out of turn.
what
What did the Detroit?
that's not fair. You
I was there.
Dave and Rose, of course, they know
They
that
deserve it.
win.
They deserve it. But that's true. So you were a Starbucks barista.
I guess we're not giving them a Starbucks gift card as a for winning
True.
No, you could still give them a Starbucks gift card and they'll pass it to their trusty assistant, MA.
that. You. Okay.
Do you smuggle it in?
We do have coffee, bean, and tea. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't.
It's like kind of like Starbucks.
Okay. I live under a rock.
Well, yeah. I think it's from California, if I'm correct. I could be wrong.
Now you were a Starbucks barista. So what was your favorite like mixed fancy drink, and what is your favorite roast?
Roast. Okay. My favorite mixed fancy drink was a tall vanilla bean flat white with 1.5 pumps of peppermint.
Only during the winter or at any time of the year?
Well, during the winter. And then my favorite summertime drink. Well, my favorite fall drink was can I remember an iced quad espresso with two pumps of toffee nut, caramel, and extra salt topping.
So you definitely like your flavors, but you also appreciate espresso.
Yeah. And I do black coffee here.
Yeah.
I love black coffee. Right now, my favorite roast is my favorite roast by all times is Chiapas.
Really?
Ooh,
And
okay.
then
Mexico. All right.
yes, they had this phenomenal Chiapas was the coffee roast. They haven't sold it. I think there was like an earthquake or something, and so they didn't sell it the next year. So it was just like a holiday thing.
Yeah,
So
I remember when that was happening.
Yeah.
It was the best ever, and I still sometimes dream about it. That's a lot. I don't dream about it, but I love it.
That's going too far.
So what is some of the favorite food that you have found in Paraguay so far?
Well, my favorite food is la chipa. It looks like a bagel, but it's not. It looks like a bagel, but it has a lot of cheese and a lot of like grease, and it's really unhealthy for you. I can't really it's just really good.
Is it fried? Is it like a pastry? Is it,
It's baked.
Okay.
And it's like it kind of has when I say it looks like a bagel, I mean it has it's a bread.
Okay.
It's a cheesy bread with a lot of grease and a lot of butter and a lot of cheese. It's like the Paraguayan cheese, like queso paraguayo is what it's called. So I don't know, but it's really
Is
good.
it breakfast food or any meal?
We're having a hard time grasping this, as you can tell.
Well, I just want to know if I'm going to be appropriate as I shove it in my face, for breakfast or.
I don't know. I don't think it's a breakfast. I think they could eat it for breakfast. I think they eat it with this like type of cocido. It's like a type of tea thing. I'm doing a really bad job explaining this. Sorry, David and Rose, they're probably like sitting there like, what is
David
this?
Rose, you can enlighten us a little bit more with the official explanations there.
I would say it's like a snack. Maybe they could eat it for breakfast, but probably like a snack.
What is something? These are just random, but what is something about Paraguayan culture that you've learned so far? Specifically about the people themselves and kind of how they operate.
They're very they're just so loving. Like Paraguay, I believe, I don't know the exact statistics, but I want to say like it's like one of the happiest countries in Latin America or in the world. It's considered the heart of South America, I think. And so
I mean, that's
people here are just really happy and really sweet and just so accepting, and I love that because like all my Paraguayan friends, like I don't speak Spanish very well, and yet they're so accepting and so willing to include me in their plans and their friendship circles. So that's a little bit of the culture, just this very, that's my roommate.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Dios
la bendiga también.
So what has been something that has probably been the hardest thing that you've had to go through since beginning this process? Maybe not necessarily an expectation, but just, you know.
I would say being away from my family and just, I think the hardest thing for me is that I am 100% happy being here. Like, this is where God's called me to be. I have that peace in my life. But on the flip side, I also 100% want to be home. And it doesn't make sense because, like, even for me, like, that's the hardest part, is that it doesn't make sense and that I don't get, like, how can I be so happy but also so, like, sad too to not be home and to not, it's just this split feeling that I have. But, like, I love it, but it's also so hard because, you know, my nieces and nephew, like, they're all growing up, and I get to see them through FaceTime, but it's different because they're little, and it's kind of hard to FaceTime with little guys. But so that's hard. Like, and my niece is just growing so much, and I think that's really hard being away from my family. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your responses, and for those who are listening, Ismael, gracias por tu respuesta, por tu comentario. Dios los bendiga desde Murfreesboro, Tennessee. All right, wonderful. But we want to just encourage you, if you're watching in the few minutes we have left, if you have any questions or anything that you're wondering about Paraguay, about life on the mission field that you want to ask Tiffany, feel free to ask those in the time we have left. Tiffany, we just enjoyed our time with you so much.
I think she's the youngest person that
I think you are our youngest guest, and that's exciting, and hopefully that's an encouragement.
Yeah.
For people that to get involved and to take that step into missions. What advice would you give someone who maybe is on, at a point where they're needing to take the next step in their life to what God's called them to do?
Yeah, I would just say, it doesn't matter what you've done or what your fears are. God's going to be there. And I know that's a very stereotypical answer, but it's so worth it, because you never, you don't want to be in God's passive will. Like, God's perfect will is going to be scary, and it is going to challenge you, but it's so worth it. And it's so beautiful. And it is hard. It is difficult. Like, we know that we weren't promised an easy life, but we were, God's going to be with us, and God's going to walk us through that. And so, I just really encourage you to take that step of faith and see how God honors that and see what God does in your life. And just really talk to the people around you and really pray about it. And actually pray about it. Don't just say, I'm going to pray about it, but actually pray about it. Genuinely pray about it. Take it up to the Lord. Fast about it. And just you know, if God opens the doors, then he opens the doors, and if he closes them, then he closes them. But don't be afraid to take the next step, because you're always going to wonder what would have been. But God's gonna show his faithfulness to you. So that's my little bit of encouragement to them.
And you know what I love about that is that you took a very, like what you said, like a typical answer, but it's real.
Right.
You know, and you're proving the reality of why people say that, because God shows up every time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not something that people just say for fun. They say it because that's who God is. And so you're living proof of that. And thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tiffany, so much for taking the time to share with us. And if anyone wants to contact you further, maybe they're interested in about Paraguay or bringing the missions team down, they want to know more, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can email me. Should I just say it?
Sure, say it, yeah, and hopefully Meryl can put it on the screen there.
So Tiffany.Armstrong@ma.agmb.org.
That's 6.
Facebook. So, and I'm also on like the AG site. You can go, you can search in our names. You could always just send me an email or send David and Rose an email. You can find them on the AG directory. So.
Okay. Is that right up there? Tiffany Armstrong, MAAGMD.org.
Yep. Yeah. Feel free to email me. I would love to answer your questions. And if you're not sure, or if you're scared, or you're in the process, you're in the waiting process of like being accepted. I was in that waiting process for a while, and it's kind of scary to not know if you'll be accepted and to not know what your next year or two is going to look like. Just you feel free to email me and we can chat, and I would love to give you more words of encouragement, or if you have any questions about the mission field, I would love to talk to you about it. Or if you just want to say hi, I would also love to say hi.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you for offering yourself there.
Yeah, and thank you for your honesty, your transparency. You know, you tackled a lot of tough subjects, so thank you.
Yeah.
Well, everyone who's been tuning in, thanks for tuning in to Coffee with the Missionary. Just want to remind you that our next one is going to be during General Council in Orlando, Florida. We're going to be Coffee Missionary at the LAC booth live at General Council. So keep watching the LAC World Missions Facebook page for info on that. And God bless you, Tiffany. And we're excited to see and hear all that God does in your life and ministry.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been such an honor.
All right.
Awesome.
God bless.
Have a good night.
God bless.